Welcome back to Think Tech Talks. Today we're doing Asia in Review on a given Thursday. We're talking about the bridge, Hawaii's bridge to Vietnam. This is really important. And Chuck Crumpton is here. He's with Crumpton and Hanson law firm in town, and he has lots of experience in Vietnam and with Vietnam. Chuck, say hello to the people.
Hey, good afternoon or good day to all of you. Thanks.
Okay, perfect. And Luan Lee.
Luan Lei.
Luan Lei.
Yes.
Okay, and she is from Vietnam, and she runs a company called Viet Hawaii Strategic Consulting. What's the website for that?
LLC. The website www.viethawaiistrategic.com.
Okay, and these guys know a lot about Vietnam, and what I would like to do is find out what it is these days. You know, I had a client years ago. I told you my story, who was a Chinese guy from the South Pacific, and he was invested in Hawaii and river property here on Bishop Street in downtown, in Chinatown, of course. And one day he came to me and said, "I'm out of here. I'm leaving. I'm selling all my holdings. I'm buying property. I'm converting to property in Vietnam because I have decided that is the best place in the universe to invest, and goodbye." and I really like this guy, and I wished him well, and I think he's done very well investing in Vietnam. So I wanted to sort of talk to you guys about what it's like, okay? But first, in order to establish, credentials, whatnot, Chuck, will you tell us how you know about Vietnam?
When I finished college in '68, I went with an international voluntary group like the Peace Corps to Vietnam, taught English, worked with street kids for 3 years, doing my alternative service in Vietnam, came back, got a master's here in Hawaii, got a Fulbright, went back, taught 2 more years in Vietnam at the university level. My first wife is from Vietnam, and we're still very close friends, and she is by far the best Vietnamese English interpreter in Hawaii, the only federally certified one. My kids are half Vietnamese, my grandkids are Vietnamese American, and it's my second homeland. I've been going back since 1993. I have been teaching with the Scheidler Business College of UH MBA program over there, which is by far the best in the country since 2009. I've also served as a consultant on the arbitration and mediation law of Vietnam, and we're continuing to work on those projects, mediation development. And I teach with HPU here.
Huh. Okay, I didn't know that. This is extraordinary credentials. Okay, you'll be good. We should stay.
Thanks.
Okay,
Oh, and I speak, read, and write Vietnamese.
Oh, really?
And I have a nonprofit that does educational exchanges with Vietnam.
We don't have time for all your credentials.
No, that's more than enough.
Luan Lei.
Yes.
Okay, why would you know anything about Vietnam?
Why would I know? I'm from Vietnam, and especially I was born in Hanoi.
In Hanoi.
Yes.
Not during the war.
Actually, I was born exactly when the American war was going to finish.
Wow, you were there.
Actually, I could tell a small story what happening right when I was just 6 months.
Go ahead.
When I was just 6 months, and my family, my parents had a maid who took care of me while they are working at a factory. And at that time, B-52 dropping just near where the maid was taking care of me under a tunnel, just about 6 meters. The B-52 dropped right just near where I was. Yeah, at Ngọc Ha, Badin Pamatham streets in Hanoi. So I was almost dead if the plane dropped on the tunnel.
Just a little
so
closer.
I feel very fortunate, very lucky to be survived as today.
Yeah.
So when my father and my mother came back, and they all came, and they felt so upset, and also lucky that everybody is still survived. And he got a piece from the airplanes, just like a souvenir from that.
Still today.
Still today, and he made it as a big plates for to put foods and things for the meal like every day. And I hope it's still in my house as of today as a souvenir from the war ending.
Yeah, too close for comfort.
Yeah.
So tell us about your training in, you know, in things American, in things global, and in things business. Yeah.
First, I'd like to introduce you a little about myself, why I'm here. I come
Sure.
from Hanoi, Vietnam, and I'm resident here, of course. And my background is in business to business support, supporting the private sector between Vietnam and international partners. And I have more than 15 years working with international NGOs in Vietnam. And with that background, and I came to Hawaii first time about 10 years ago to attend the Vietnam Executive MBA program at the Schuyler College, University of Hawaii. That's really made my decision that I got to come back this place because I love this island. I love Hawaii. I love the people and culture, and especially the climate. So I made it last year. I got a scholarship from the Asia Pacific Leadership Program from the East West Center, 9-month intensive program. So I already graduated, and now I stay here. And I've been working with a number of education projects programs at the East West Center, and very soon maybe with the UH. Recently, I started and formed a company as Viet Hawaii.
That's the Viet Hawaii Strategic Consulting LLC. Yeah. What does that company do?
The company, so we form this. I say we because I don't do this. I don't work with this company just by myself. We because I'm teaming up with a group of professional business experts, both in Vietnam and Hawaii. For example, Chuck, he's an excellent resources for networking with the business community, and especially his mediation and legal expertise. For example, here, but I'm teaming up with a lot of other people. So we plan to provide business matchmaking services mainly, but not limited to business development advisory, business development, project management, identify potential service and goods between Hawaii and Vietnam, and from that we provide relevant service like local representation and arrange travel arrangements, etc.
So if I want to, sounds like the mainstream of it is that if I want to do business in Vietnam, and I need or I think I need a business partner who is a Vietnam company or a Vietnam person, then I call you, and you'll find me a partner, and you'll help me negotiate the deal. Would you be representing me or him or both of us?
What I normally do, because this is not the first time I do this, this can say this is my work life, because I've been doing a lot of this work in Vietnam.
Making arrangements.
Matchmaking, business matchmaking.
Yeah.
First, I would say what exactly or what is your specific requirements and demands, and what would you want, what kind of services and products you want, and what kind of partners, big, private, public, state-owned companies. So based on your requirements, I will look for the business partners, companies in Vietnam, and I will look for the right partners. Depends on your requirement, and I will put you together. So I would suggest that either you will make a short study visit to Vietnam to learn about the Vietnam market, to learn about your future partner, everything about Vietnam. Or either way, I would suggest the Vietnamese company make a visit to Hawaii, for example, if you locate to Hawaii, and learn about the same thing, business environment, the potential, and etc. So from that is the first point, the first step that the two companies will know and learn from each other before they could further develop next steps, for example, pilot project and negotiation and feasibility study, etc.
So are you also representing Vietnam companies who are looking for American partners?
I would say that at this point, I would not prefer to say I represent anyone, but I would consider I'm the middleman. I'm here to support both the companies in Vietnam and Hawaii, and I would facilitate both companies to get to know each other and closer relationship and trust and develop a good and sustainable partnership.
Would you help? Would you help me get the necessary permits and approvals from the Vietnam government?
I would help you to. I and together with my team members
Who are in Vietnam?
who are in Vietnam to provide relevant information in terms of paperwork and legal issue and irrelevant that you need to know in order to you could go to the right track and apply to the right place. And absolutely, in doing business anywhere, you would need to have a very good professional lawyer who helps you.
Yes, someone who is familiar with how things work in Vietnam.
Exactly.
Somebody who speaks the language, writes the language, somebody whose initials would be CC. But, you know, we talking about your bio a little while ago, we didn't include the fact that you're involved, Chuck, in the International Law Foundation, and which does, you know, Hawaii-Vietnam educational exchanges. Can you talk about that a little and sort of ramp up and tell me how you would work with Luan Lei about setting up a business for me, my business that I want to make in Vietnam?
Okay. An example of the educational exchanges in 1997 with Ray Tam from here, a mentor, a dear friend, and revered colleague. We put together a group and we brought 6 leading Vietnamese professionals with legal training and experience over from various ministries, justice, trade, foreign affairs, and others. They are now in very leading positions as young leaders in Vietnam, and they're all extremely gifted, high integrity, high quality people. What we're doing now in the business environment is comparable in the sense that we are helping people to handpick the best partners. For example, on the legal side, I have ministry people in the Ministry of Justice who have been good friends for well over 15 years, have Vietnamese law firm friends and international law firm friends, Ministry of Trade, Foreign Affairs, others, Ministry of Planning and Investment. So the contacts, the networks, and things that we have are not just professional business relationships, these are friendships also. These bring to the business relationship for the Hawaii businesses the same qualities that you would look for in a friendship, because to me, business partners and friends better exhibit the same loyalty, trustworthiness, honesty, openness, and accountability and responsibility that you would expect from a friend. And that's what gives it its sustainability and its value.
So have you been doing this, you know, before? It sounds to me like, you know, you have a long business experience dealing in Vietnam. You know how it works, you know the people, you know the hurdles, you know, to jump. And the fact that you set up the International Law Foundation, or you're part of it. I don't know if you set it up.
I did.
Oh, okay. You know, qualifies you, it shows me anyway that you've been doing this for a while. This is not new territory for you.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. About 21 years now, since 93.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. In fact, 93, the first time back, I went as a consultant to Hawaii business that was invited to participate in a housing development project. And after doing our due diligence, we determined that the qualifications of the company that was seeking to partner were not sufficiently creditable and reliable in that area. They were very strong in other areas of business, but not in housing development. And so I think one of the things that we need to do here, just as we would in Vietnam, is do the due diligence not only as to the bureaucratic and the regulatory requirements and all those things, but looking at the relationship and what people are bringing to the table, and is that really going to be a good long-term fit? Because we're looking at recognizing that Vietnam places a very high value on relationships, just as Hawaii does. We're looking at the cultural similarities and connections between Hawaii and Vietnam. And Luan, out of all of the business professionals that I've met, brings a greater understanding and ability for recognizing and cultivating the things that make strong long-term business relationships than anybody I've seen.
And we only have a minute before our next break, our first break, but I just want to give you my reaction, at least in part, on, there's only a handful of lawyers in the state of Hawaii who actually do what you are doing. I mean, and I don't know anybody else who's doing Vietnam the way you're doing Vietnam. Maybe there is
Correct.
nobody.
No.
But all together, it's one hand of lawyers who have sort of survived the Japanese bubble. That was too easy. The Japanese bubble in the late 80s, when everybody was traipsing to Japan every 2 weeks and making real estate deals and being finders on various title transfers of Hawaii property, right? You remember that?
We do.
But you
We're
guys
not
have
talking
sort of,
about statues in the lawns at Kahala.
No. But you guys, you and the others, I'm thinking of the half dozen, Mark Schwab would be among them, have established long-term guanxi with various countries in Asia, not limited to China, going beyond China.
Correct.
And I'm very impressed with that. I think you are the bridge to another time, a better time, when Hawaii will finally realize its destiny as a bridge to Asia. So good for you, Chuck. No kidding.
Well, and you're going to be seeing Mike Formby on another show, and the city and county of Honolulu is a sister city with Hue, the old cultural capital of Vietnam, where I was actually married in 1971, and my first wife was from. And I have strong connections with Hue. But I think what's special for Hawaii and Vietnam is there is a cultural connection. Hawaii and Vietnam have endured foreign influence and even in some instances oppression in ways that have emerged with a strength of spirit and character that enable a connection between Hawaii and Vietnam that I think is very rare and not so likely with other countries and cultures.
Okay. That's really, an important principle for us to discuss. Let's take a short break, and then we'll come back and discuss that in much greater detail, okay? That's Chuck Crumpton and Luan Lei. Chuck is with Crumpton and Hanson, a law firm here in Honolulu, but lots of connection with Vietnam. And Luan Lei is a consultant, a strategic consultant, if you will, operating under Viet Hawaii Strategic Consulting, LLC. This is Think Tech Talks, Asia in Review, examining the bridge from Hawaii to Vietnam. We'll be right back after this break. Castle & Cooke, Hawaii. Investing in Hawaii, creating communities, and providing for the needs of our state. Collateral Analytics, empowering the real estate industry to make better informed property investment decisions. The Foreign Trade Zone, bringing the benefits of the Foreign Trade Zone programs to Hawaii businesses and entrepreneurs. Galen Ho, a senior executive of BAE Systems, a global defense, security, and aerospace company. Hawaiian Electric Company and its affiliates Maui Electric and Hawaii Electric Light Company on Hawaii Island. The Hawaii Energy Policy Forum, incorporating diverse perspectives to design a flexible and forward-looking energy strategy. Hawaii Energy, the state's energy and efficiency program created to help Hawaii's residents and businesses adopt a clean energy lifestyle. Hawaii Gas, helping Hawaii achieve its transition to clean energy and a better energy future. Hawaii Pacific Health, bringing technology and teamwork together to transform healthcare in Hawaii. The High Tech Development Corporation, attached to DBED, is the state's leading technology agency. The Scheidler Family Foundation, supporting educational, cultural, and charitable organizations, including Think Tech. Okay, we're back. We're live. We're Think Tech Talks doing Asia in Review, Hawaii's bridge to Vietnam. We're trying to understand Vietnam and how it is a good partner for us in so many ways, with Chuck Crumpton and Luan Lei. Luan, can you tell us the national character, or the business national character of Vietnam right now? What's it like there, in your perception? I mean, what's it like that makes it a good partner for an American business?
I would say that Vietnam is one of the very attractive destination for doing business with and partner with. Especially the 70% of Vietnam population is very young, under 35 years old, I think, very young and talented, and they work hard, and they are talents, and they are ready to learn and learn fast, and they are flexible, and they could be very, very good and potential future leaders in doing business. That is the population, and Vietnam's nature. One of the points I really like is that the Vietnam locations in the Southeast Asia, making it one of the ideal place for not only Hawaiian company but other foreign company to come and do business, because it's considered like a gateway. Once you can do business with Vietnamese company, they could extend their business to Laos, Cambodia.
Through
Thailand.
Vietnam.
Yeah, through
You go to Vietnam first,
Yeah.
and then you get in touch with Laos and Cambodia and so
Yes,
forth.
yes. That way I would consider Vietnam is quite the similar things as Hawaii is located in very strategic place in the Asia Pacific.
So the business community in Vietnam wants to do business.
Yes.
They want to be a
absolutely.
business center.
Yes.
Why?
Because Vietnam now, as you know, from the underdeveloping, and now it's become developing country, and the business people, they are willing and they are ready to continue doing business with international partners.
What are the elements that went into this? I'll throw some at you in my limited perception of this, and you can see if you agree. One is that the war. Well, Vietnam was an international place before the war because it had the French influence, and like it or not, it understood, had some understanding of things European. Secondly, the war certainly gave it an understanding of things American. And the funny thing is, it's a spectacular thing that the war, terrible war, thousands, hundreds of thousands of people were killed. But at the end of the day, it bonded our two countries. It's so interesting how that worked. And so that bond makes Vietnam want to do business, I'm guessing. The other thing is that in learning about the U.S. And becoming global in those years, the years of the war and thereafter, and trying to recover from the war, the Vietnamese people became aware of business. I don't know if they were so heavily involved in business before the war. Am I right? But after the war, it became iconic to do business. They learned the value of doing business. And finally, just a guess, but in those recovery years, everybody went to school. And school became really important for the average Vietnamese. So now, you tell me how wrong or right I am.
Well, 90% of Vietnamese population is in the literacy level. Yeah. But you raise the point, I would like to add that I find it's really funny that many times I meet with American people, like normal American people, and one of their first thought and questions to me, oh, Vietnam War. So talking about Vietnam, they only thought about the war with America, so I was kind of a little bit surprised. And I would explain a little bit more and introduce them a little bit about Vietnam as what it is and where we are today. So the war, and of course, we had the war with America, with French, with Chinese, and Japan, and in the past. But as you see, nobody forgets about the past. But I would say that Vietnamese people think about the past, and I'm not surprised American people and government saying the same thing, think about the past as the lesson to learn and do not make the same mistake and move on with a better future. And I would like to repeat that most of about 70% of Vietnamese population is younger than 35 years old.
Are they global? Do they think globally? if I get out of high school in Ho Chi Minh City, do I have ideas about going to Europe? Have I ideas about going to the U.S.? Do I have an idea that maybe I'll meet in business when I get out of high school in Vietnam?
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Not only in the high school, but Vietnamese people, we are eager to learn, and we learn a lot from different resources. And of course, we want to do business and cooperate globally and regionally.
That's really something. Was there some leader, some phenomenon? I mean, that made Vietnam so outward looking. This is outward looking, right? It's an outward look at the universe. It's an awareness of places outside the country, of phenomenon, of possibilities outside the country. What made that happen?
I think one of the things, Jay, that we got so much misinformation here during the Vietnam War. We didn't have direct access information. I was in country for 5 years during the war, and so my understanding and awarenesses in Vietnam were completely 180 degrees different than what the American people were being given. I don't think that the leadership and the character and spirit that Ho Chi Minh brought can be really understood or appreciated at the level that it should be based on that.
His influence is still great, isn't it?
It's huge. He's referred to as Uncle Ho, but I think several things that really need to be understood. He is the one who studied in France, brought big portions of the American Declaration of Independence into the Constitution of Vietnam, very much geared toward building a working relationship with the Americans. His goal at the end of the 1975 war, which in Vietnam is called the American War, not the Vietnam War, his goal was to essentially play the Russians and the Chinese off against each other and ally most closely with the Americans. The only thing that thwarted that was that Nixon and Kissinger developed a policy being rather resentful and small-minded people, and they sent McNamara out to the world to declare an international embargo on Vietnam. No aid, no humanitarian aid, no assistance of any kind.
After the war.
Yes, you won't find that in McNamara's apology. It should have been on the very first page. It is, to me, having grown up with a country that's always been there, the first and the most for people in need.
Yeah.
Germany at the end of the Second World War, Japan at the end of that war, Korea. It was the first time in our history that we not only abrogated that policy but went directly against it. We actually went out and cultivated people to boycott a country in need as a result of a war that we funded, we engendered, and we took no responsibility for. And despite that, I think what people here really need to understand, the people of Vietnam draw a very clear distinction between the government and the people. When you go into Vietnam, you will be treated with hospitality, with welcoming and open arms, whether you're a business or an individual. If you go in there to seek, who do I pay in order to get what I want? If you're seeking corruption, you can find it just as you can here, just as you can anywhere. Nobody is going to convince me that Hawaii and the U.S. are any less corrupt than Europe or Vietnam or Korea or Japan or any other place. Our style is different, but the content is really the same. It's how you view and treat relationships. If you go into Vietnam to build, honor, and respect long-term relationships based on core values, you will get that, and you will get that return.
What I'm getting, and it's not just from Luan Lee and you, Chuck, it's from many shows that we've had here in the studio, is that Vietnam has turned out to be special. I mean, and we may not ever be able to fully understand exactly how the national character developed, but it's kind of a special business community. It values business, it values its connections outside of Vietnam. Am I right? I mean, and it sounds like you're part of that, Luan Lee. You're reaching out in that way. You're trying to realize the destiny that a lot of people in Vietnam see. They want to have good business relationships, and as Chuck says, it's intertwined with good relationships in general. This is a wonderful thing. You know, it's lucky almost, but here we are. Am I right?
Absolutely, I fully agree with you, Jay.
Okay.
And I think one of the other things that Hawaii and Vietnam have in common and are unique in my experience, I've lived and traveled to and worked in a number of countries, but Hawaii and Vietnam are extraordinarily adept at taking the best of other cultures and synthesizing them with the best of our own.
So
and
you're
making
saying
something
there's a
even better.
special thing that is common denominator that puts Hawaii in a better position to deal with Vietnam, to make deals with Vietnam, than say Omaha and Nebraska.
Or France.
Or France.
Or
Or France.
Singapore.
That is something.
Yeah, I would like to add that one of the similarity between Hawaii and Vietnam is about the culture. As soon as I arrived to Hawaii for the first time, I already felt like I'm at home in Vietnam. Why? And I found out that 70% of the Hawaii population were from Asia, and the culture is very similar. People are very friendly and aloha spirit, and really very much on the community spirit. And,
Okay.
that's
Well, we're going to take another break on that note. I'm going to come back and I'm going to ask you what happens if I go to Vietnam and I don't call you first, and what are my risks? What are my challenges? What are my footfalls, if any? Maybe I can do it without you.
okay.
Okay, this is Chuck Crumpton of Crumpton and Hanson, a law firm here in Honolulu, a man with lots of experience in Vietnam, and Juan Lei, who runs Viet Hawaii Strategic Consulting LLC, trying to build a Hawaii bridge to Vietnam. This is Think Tech Talks Asia in Review. We'll be right back.
I'm Hong Jiang, host for Asia in Review on Tuesdays.
And I'm David Day, host for Asian Review on Thursdays. Both of us broadcast our respective shows at 4 p.m.
And my topics tend to deal with questions related to environment, culture, history, and sometimes human rights.
And my shows tend to be on international business, foreign policy, geopolitics, and national security. And you can watch our shows live on the ThinkTech website at thinktechhawaii.com.
And you can also watch us on YouTube or Olalo.
So come join us on Thursdays at 4 p.m. I'm David Day.
And on Tuesdays at 4 p.m., I'm Hong Jiang.
Aloha.
Aloha.
We're back. We're live. We're here with Chuck Crumpton and Luan Lei on Asia in Review, talking about Hawaii's bridge to Vietnam. You know, it's too bad that you miss the conversation we have during the breaks, because it's really wonderful. And so I asked Chuck if he would repeat, something we were covering, during the break, and that is, the whole effect of the Scheidler School and Tung Boy and Jay Scheidler, for that matter, as you've seen it. What effect does that have on this pipeline that we are building with Luan Lei and others to Vietnam?
I have to say, as a teacher for well over 40 years, and as a business person, what Jay Scheidler and his right-hand man, Larry Taft, have done in making it possible for the business school to do this executive MBA program in Vietnam with some of the best young executives and managers in the country, and to enable them to go out with the tools to provide the kind of business leadership that Vietnam is capable of and really needs. I've never seen anything like that anywhere.
But what do they say? That the Scheidler Business School generates some huge percentage of the business executives in Vietnam?
Not the percentage, but the quality, the best and the brightest. I met with a gentleman who is the head of the leading stock investment company in Vietnam, very bright man. And he said the reason that this program is the best MBA program, not only in Vietnam, but he would put it up against MBA programs in Europe and even in the US, is that they pick the best and the brightest of the young execs and leaders. They cultivate them with the best quality teaching, because these are the top people that Scheidler's Business College has put together and sends them over. And it's one-to-one contact, it's small classes, and we develop relationships and friendships. There's already an alumni organization of several hundred MBA grads. And Luang is the archetype of exactly what that program is capable of producing, taking the best of what Vietnam's young business leadership has to offer and providing the tools, the encouragement, and the networks for them to do things that can make international bridges, not just in Vietnam, to give back. in ways that Hawaii would value.
Yeah, there's a certain element of doing a good job building the bridge. It's altruistic in some, although we know it's for a profit, you know, and to build companies and what have you and lead a nice life, but it's also, I sense a certain altruism in it. But going back to my question before the break, Dawn, suppose I go over there without your help and I just throw myself into the economy. And what happens to me? Am I going to be okay?
Absolutely, you would be okay. Oh, I'm joking. Actually, first, before coming to your questions, I would like to say that I really like the title for today's talk is Hawaii Bridge to Vietnam. So I'm really glad that you put this title because actually I think a bridge between Hawaii and Vietnam is already existing. And I'm glad that we have our company and our services and professional. We hope that we will strengthen this bridge between Hawaii and Vietnam.
Does Vietnam see Hawaii? You know, the phenomenon that Chuck was talking about, does Vietnam see Hawaii as a kindred spirit, as a special place, as a place where maybe, you know, we have a relationship more than other places?
Well, let me share with you my personal point of view. As soon as I came to Hawaii for the first time, and even when I had not been to Vietnam before, I thought about Hawaii is like a paradise, a great place to come and enjoy a short vacation and enjoy the scenery and the beach Waikiki, etc. So as soon as I came here for the Vietnam Executive MBA program from the Charlotte College, and after I graduated, and I found out that there are a lot of great potential in doing business in Hawaii, and it was about 10 years ago. And I already wish that I could do something really meaningful to facilitate and to promote Hawaii, especially doing business in Hawaii. Because I find out that the tourism industries and educations and agricultural products very potential in Hawaii. Why? Vietnam also very potential markets for import and export of these sectors.
Okay.
So, do I?
Now, what about my
respond?
question now? Suppose I got on a plane and went to Ho Chi Minh City and said, I'm going to go down the street. I'm going to look for a retail space that I think would be good, and I'm going to ask the man on the street corner who owns the building, and I'm going to try to make a deal with the landlord. I'm going to try this in English. How far do I get?
I would say that you would deal with a lot of risk because just in case you didn't know anything about Vietnam, about culture, communication and business etiquette, you got to know this before you could do something. For example, just simply doing a retail, and you got to know this. That's why please come to us with Hawaii. We could help you to do business better. We make a lot of ease for you.
Do I need a Vietnam partner? You know? Do I have to have a joint venture or a partnership to survive?
When you say a Vietnam partner, you are talking about doing business. There are quite a lot of different choices for you to consider. If you just want to have a kind of pure commercial partnership, you still need to have a Vietnamese partner, but either a
Is
joint.
it legal? I mean, is it a matter of law? Okay, so it's absolutely I have to have a
You absolutely
Vietnam
need to have a partner, a Vietnamese partner. But of course, typically you would need a consultant, either American consultant, either Vietnamese consultant, either someone like myself or Chuck who understand both about the Hawaii culture and Vietnamese culture to facilitate the business.
Do I need a Vietnam lawyer?
You would need a very good professional lawyer, no matter American or Vietnamese lawyer, but they need to have the expertise to understand about the law in Vietnam, the law about US, in order to protect your business.
If I may
Are
share
you
my
licensed in Vietnam? by the
No.
way?
I wouldn't consider acting as someone's lawyer in Vietnam. There are Americans with international firms that do represent international clients in Vietnam. The good ones all have very, very strong top Vietnamese lawyers in their firms that handle the communications. An example, we just met with a business here that we're consulting with. They had potentials for projects in China and Singapore that did not succeed because they didn't have the on-the-ground, loyal, reliable relationships and people to make them work. It is critical. You wouldn't do it here. Hey, you would not go out and hire a contractor sight unseen for your house without checking with friends and checking the track record. Why would you do less going to an environment about which you know even less?
I mean, to take my own question and flip it around. Suppose I'm not from this country. I get off the plane, I go look at the retail space, I ask who the owner is. Do you think I'm going to have a good time? It'll be terrible. I will wind up getting skinned alive.
You're exactly right. And one of the things that's really striking is that you will see foreign business people come into other countries, not just Vietnam, and engage in conduct of the type you've described that they would never do in their own country. And they expect it to work, and then they blame that country, and usually the word they use is corruption, for it not working. But you get what you invest.
Sure. What about corruption? I mean, I wanted to know what the challenges are, what the risks and footfalls are. Corruption comes up in the context of most Southeast Asian, most Asian countries, and Vietnam does have some of it. This is actually a corruption index, as I recall. I don't remember who is what, but how do you deal with a situation where the guy on the other side says, I'll do that, but I need to grease my palm, or you have to send my kid to college or something. How do you deal with that? David Day always says, you just say no. And then he says after that, you never say no. And what he means is you say no, but you don't say actually no. You say no by not saying no, and somehow the communication is then complete and you don't have to grease anybody's palm. How do you deal with it?
Well, I think there's two aspects, Jay. One is that what I frankly prefer in Vietnam, is there corruption? Absolutely. Show me a country which has none. Is it at a level that should be unacceptable to the government and business leaders? Absolutely. And there again, in every country I've ever seen, including US, France, Germany, everywhere else. But the difference is they are realizing the impact that it has on their business relations and reputation. They are putting it up front on the table as an agenda item, and they are trying to deal with it with international relations rather than what we do.
How do you deal with it? How do you stop it? I don't want to spend too much time on this, but I'm just interested in this one aspect.
But I would still like to raise my personal points here, that talking about the corruption, it is not the first time. It is typical, it's common and happen everywhere, globally, regionally, and even in America. I'm not surprised. But talking about stopping the corruption, it's just not simply telling people that please stop corruption. It's not like that, because when you want to find the right solution for something, you need to know what is the main cause. To me, the main cause to the corruption is the living condition. It's about the economy. If the economy is going down, it's caused the people living conditions down. They become poor and poorer and poorer. And when they got the chance, it's easily create the atmosphere of corruption, no matter what it is, to be survived.
So this goes back to the earlier discussion, namely that the Vietnamese people from various vectors and causes understand that if the economy goes up, then the lives of everyone will be better. So you work together to make the best place for business.
Right.
And then the economy goes up.
Yeah. So that point, that I really hope, and I'm thinking it's quite positively that the economy is going up thanks to the recent American real estate sector developing, I hope. So coming back to your point, to the brightest scenario, I think it is the best to educate people and gradually changing people's mindset about corruption. For example, in Vietnam, I don't remember that corruption topic is already put in the curriculum training program in high school or even elementary school or university. So I think the best way is that building the culture for people to think about corruption, say no with corruption, put it in the school program. So when they grow up, they automatically think that no, say no with corruption.
Yeah. Okay, moving to, we only have 5 minutes left, and one other question about challenges is, this is a communist government. It's a strong central government. What is their role in this economic development, economic revival, is this attempt to do global business? Are they behind it? How much do they support it? How much do they incentivize it? Do they ever stand in the way? Are they partners in this process?
Can you just specify more about your questions?
Let me, while one's thinking about that, it's important to understand their central government and how they work, and the bureaucratic and the regulatory factors. As a friend said, Vietnam's law tells you what you can do, which means what you can go to the government to get the approval to do. Our law tells you what you cannot do, so that you find ways to avoid violating that specific one, but you can still do it. The difference, I think, in Vietnam is that when you cultivate relationships based on core values, I've been dealing with Vietnam for 45 years. I've had educational transactions, family transactions, business transactions. I have never once in 45 years been betrayed or mistreated in a relationship, because if you treat the people and you cultivate the relationships the way that we can help people to do, you minimize the risk of that. If you go in looking for it with money in your pocket and you're looking to get special deals and favors by those kinds of means, but there's a Foreign Corrupt Practices Act.
I'm not talking about corruption. I'm talking about the government.
Yeah.
Is the government helpful? Is the government...
It's a free market economy.
Yes.
That's more important than the fact that
Yes.
the government is... And they're communist in the same way that the French government is. It's a socialist government. It's the Socialist Republic of Vietnam. Yes, the party that is the leading political party is communist. I have friends who are members in that. It doesn't deter them from being very decadently capitalistic investors and successful. So I think what they've done is they've taken the elements of communism that have worked for them politically and combined those with the economic elements and the cultural elements that have always worked for them. And they're working out a balance that I think is going to create an increasingly favorable business climate. And Lan can tell us what that means.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I missed your point here. I would continue.
For a Hawaii business going into Vietnam, if the communist government is not an obstacle or is something you can work with, how is it?
Then there's a place why I would see the potential that we could support and we could facilitate the economic and business relationships. We try to promote the business for Hawaiian and Vietnamese companies.
So where is this going to go in the future? If I draw a line 5 years from now, I mean, it strikes me that you're not in the first generation of people who have come out of Vietnam who want to do business. You might be in the second, well, even the third generation.
Yeah.
People want to do that, except, maybe you're a little smarter and a little more savvy on, global things, and maybe you can do more. The world is your oyster, Juan. And Chuck, you're to me, in a first generation of lawyers here in Hawaii, who have seen the light and who go to Asia and roll up their sleeves and, get into the guanxi long term and make it work, make it part of their lives, and thus part of the state's life. You're part of the thing that builds that special connection. But where's it going to go? Where's it going to go? The bridge between Hawaii and Vietnam. Do you think that what I worry about is the flyover, like the Chinese have? I mean, if Luan or your friends decide that things are better in LA or San Francisco or Washington, that these possibilities are greater, faster, more, more profitable elsewhere, maybe you'll forget us. Where's it going to go?
I think one of the things that's really important to remember for people in Hawaii, when Asian business people and even tourists come here, when they get up in the morning and they walk around, they look like everyone else, they feel like everyone else, they're at home, they feel like they belong, and they're treated with aloha and belonging. That happens nowhere else. I have had many, many Vietnamese, Japanese, Korean, and Asian business people say, we love Hawaii because we're at home. We really feel like we're treated as if we belong here and we're family here. That happens nowhere else. Not San Fran, not LA, not DC, not Chicago, not Seattle. Nowhere. So we have a unique advantage. We haven't promoted it. I'm not faulting our state and county, city and county governments for not making the best advantage of that. But the timing is really good right now. To miss this window of opportunity, if there's a flyover, it will be because we neglected it, not because it wasn't there. And I think the private business community can take the leadership in the way that the government cannot. It's not
I
fair
agree
to
with that,
expect our state and county
absolutely. So
governments to take that leadership.
We want the business community to see these possibilities.
And that is the opportunities really we think is the most potential right now, and I would really support Chuck's idea, and especially we wish, for example, back to your question is where to go and what it would look like in 5 years. I would see the picture is bright, and we do hope that more Vietnamese company will present in Hawaii, not only in Hawaii but mainland, other mainlands as well as the investor from Asia, create more jobs for American people, local people, and vice versa. Hawaiian company will invest more in Vietnam and create and transfer know-how and technology, and also create a lot of more jobs for Vietnamese people. So I hope that with the economic is developing, and the economic and political relationship, collaboration between the two countries developing, and we support more about doing business between Hawaii and Vietnam.
Okay, hold that thought, because I want to come back, in a few months or a year and check in with you and see how it goes. Chuck Crumpton, Crumpton and Hanson, more than a law firm, a phenomenon connecting us with Vietnam. And Juan Lei, Viet Hawaii Strategic Consulting LLC, with great prospects to build the bridge between Hawaii and Vietnam. Think Tech Talks Asia in Review today, and we'll be moving on to our next show, which is Global Connections with Carlos Juarez in a few minutes. Thank you both.
Gee, thank you. Wonderful opportunity.
Aloha.
So we